EU4 is a real-time strategy game developed by Paradox Interactive. Here's a tutorial on how to play it. All the basics. I'll be going over every single tab in the country view. I'll be going over what the country view is. I'll be going over everything you see here on screen right now. Let's go. When you open EU4, first thing you want to do, though, here's a few notes, is go into options and edit the settings, because you'll have to restart your game if you need to edit settings. Do the in-game provided tutorial, figure out what your game looks like, and if you need to edit settings from there. Once you do that, you should go into your single-player game or multiplayer and pick a nation. At the bottom will be a bunch of lists, and all of those are good except for the ones on the farther right. The further right it is, the harder it is, but those are all good nation starters. Or if you want to find one that's specific to you, then you can pick that, like some weird tiny nation, sure, but it's not going to be the full experience because you're not going to have the full missions. Also, get the DLC if you haven't. It's $8 on Steam. It's basically required to get the full experience. It's $8 on Steam with a subscription, or you can get all of it for like $500 straight down, not on sale, which is pretty fucking nuts. So I don't know, you pick your poison. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to want to keep in mind when playing EU4 is that the way the game works on the basic level. Everything here is a province. All of them have their own stats. You can see all of them here. A lot of this you won't use. I know it might look very intimidating and like worrying. A lot of this is just shit you could find in other UIs that you will use in other UIs. But you can see here all of this province, all of it. Wow, and these are states. The way these work are, once you get like one province, you can state it. And it's just like, for example, if an event happens here, they'll all get minus 15 autonomy. That will affect everyone in the state, including this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. All of it gets it, rather than it just being relegated to Saragossa. It's being relegated to Saragossa. All right, the next thing you want to keep in mind is how troops move. Click on your troop stack and right click wherever you want to go. Yep, that's it. That's how troops move. That's the gist. But you'll see these things, which are forts. The way these work is they take the area around it, and so you can't walk past that area without going into the fort. For example, if this was an enemy fort and I want to go to Soria, I can't because it'll stop me at Saragossa, because I need to go and take that fort first. Once I take that fort, I'll be able to continue on. That's how forts work. The AI doesn't really abide by it sometimes, but I think it's worth mentioning. The thing you want to know is how troops move. They work the same as troops, but just like right-click on tiles. It's the same thing, but just with bigger C tiles. One thing to note is when they're far away, for example, if I were to put one here, it will suffer attrition and you'll lose ships because you're not near any of your land. But navies work way differently than troops. I'll explain that later. Alright, on to the country view. In the country view, you'll see a ton of tabs. I'm going to go over all of them. We're going to start left to right. This isn't the order you should look at them, not in order of importance. They're all important in different ways, but there's some that are more important than others, but I'm going to go left to right because I think that's easier for me. Just the court, it shows everything relating to your dynasty and king and queen and heir and administrative power and advisors and all how that works. The guy at the top, whoever's at the top here, is who's in charge of your country, right? Which means you inherit all their buffs and all their modifiers. For example, this guy has 2 administrative skill, 4 diplomatic skill, and 6 military skill. These basically go on top of this, and the base for this is 3. So if you have no other modifiers, this would be 5, this would be 7, and this would be 9. But I have modifiers on, so they're different right now, and I'll explain that in a second. The heirs who comes into charge next, this guy, when this guy dies, if I were to abdicate, and then I get his thing. Here's how advisors work. This is related to military, diplomatic, administrative. I have this guy hired. He does 0.80%, 0.80 ducats monthly. That's the currency in this game, by the way. That's what this is. That's what this is. It's ducats. Okay. He takes 0.80 ducats monthly out of my income or out of my balance, which means that I lose 0.8 ducats per month in exchange for having +1 administrative power and +10 production efficiency. You can promote him to get more skill from him. So for example, I want to make 7 administrative power, I'd promote him, or alternatively hire one of the +2s up here, like the stability cost. I don't want that right now, but I could if I wanted to, right? That's this tab. It's pretty simple, makes a lot of sense. Okay, on to the next one, government. I'm gonna take a sip of root beer. The government tab is not very important. use it for a few things. It's something you look at for statistics. On the right is country modifiers. Over the game, you'll accrue these. You can see here, if you click on this, it'll show you everything, like everything. Here's your cultures. The non-accepted ones are ones you don't have accepted. These give you debuffs. For example, Sardinia, I have is cultured Sardinian, so this gives me +2 unrest, -33 because it's not accepted. You can't accept every culture, so you have to convert. I'll get into that later, but this is where you get to see the cultures. The other thing up here is strength in government. For example, if I lose legitimacy up here, you'll be able to raise it back up with this, costing mill power. Okay? This is your government rank. You'll need to use this if you become a big empire or something, or you go from like a small guy to a medium guy. This increases your government capacity. It will it'll give you debuffs, right? If you go above your governing capacity, it'll give you debuffs, which is what you use this for. So you would take this and it would up your rank, and you'd get more government capacity. You can't use this often. It's not a big deal, but it's worth checking if you go from a really small nation to a giant nation and have low government capacity. This is government reforms. You can reach it from there in the government tab, or alternatively, you can just click here next to your country view. This is something that you'll go through throughout the entire game. As you continue, you'll be able to get different upgrades for your country. They'll give you different benefits. For example, this one would give me +10 manpower modifier. This one would give me +15 tax modifier. I have low manpower as Aragon, so I would probably take the manpower modifier. Yeah, that's how it works. There's just a bunch of buffs. It's worth reading into. Sometimes this shit will change things about your country, though, and it's worth being careful about that. You don't want to accidentally turn into a republic, right? For example, here, the deliberative assembly, right? You would go through, you'd be like, oh man, maybe I'll take a general states, but you'll see republic. It's like, oh, you get +1 diplomat, +200 gov cap. I'll take that. It will change your government type from a kingdom to a republic, which gets rid of your monarchy and makes you elected, right? Makes it electorates, and like every year you have a presidential race or some shit, like every 4 years. Okay, that's everything about government. There's not a lot to it. It's pretty simple. All right, on to the next one. Diplomatic view, incredibly important. A good way to look at this is it shows you a bunch of statistics about the country. A lot of shit up here is not a big deal, right? Everything except for these three is not a big deal, except for maybe the text, but you can see their tech, their corruption, their victory score, which doesn't matter at all. Their ideas, how many ideas they take, prestige, stability, cultures, policies, all of that, right? Your spy network. Below that, you get to see their troops, their ships, and their manpower. This is what matters. For example, if I were to declare war on the Ottomans, I would be like, okay, they have 30,000 troops and 7,000 manpower. All right, let's think. I have 19k troops. I have 5,000 manpower. I have 24 ships. They have 22 ships. Do I think I could win this? Probably not, because I imagine they could build more troops. But that's what matters, right? You can see here relations. Me and Austria both like each other, which is we're friendly towards each other, and we both have +35 because we're besties. All right, you get to see attitudes towards each other and what technology group they are. This doesn't really matter. This kind of matters if you want. And this matters, but there's another way to check it that's better. You get to see the ruler, 251. This means they don't get a lot of mill points, which means they're probably going to be behind in mill tech. And you get to see their rivals, their heir. It's just the court view, but for everyone else, right? You get to look at people's court views. Okay, anyways, you get to see the relations here too. So, for example, all of these countries want to be friends with Austria. I don't think any of them are going to be, but they all want to be. And these are the alliances that Austria has. They're allied to all these people, and they're royal married with those people, right? Here's the big thing. This is a lot of shit here, and it does a lot of different things. Alliance covers alliance actions, right? It's very simple. Influence covers influence. Like if you want to proclaim a guarantee or send a warning. Proclaiming a guarantee is like a soft alliance. It means no other country can attack that country without you being called in to defend that country. If, for example, I don't want England to take Scotland, I would proclaim a guarantee. But I'm too small for Scotland to actually care about me, right? They're far too powerful to take our guarantee seriously. Same with warning. If I want Genoa to not take any more land, I'll send them a warning. This all takes up a diplo slot, a diplo relations slot on the top in your diplomatic power. If you exceed that, I have out of 4 right now, right? But if I were to proclaim guarantee or alliance 6 different countries right now, this would be -2 added to this, which means I would only be making 4 monthly increase. Relation actions are important if you want to improve relations with a country. For example, Poland doesn't really care about me, right? They don't care. I'd improve relations with them until they do care about me, and then I'd ally them, right? Same thing with sending an insult. If Ottomans They don't like me. I don't like them. I want to send them an insult because it gives me power. Next is up dynastic. This matters for royal marriages. A royal marriage gives you higher relations with them and just a chance of a new heir. So, for example, you don't have an heir, marry everyone. Like, if you don't have an heir, marry all your allies, and then that way you'll get an heir faster, right? For example, the next thing is covert actions, which is spy networks. If I build a spy network in Austria, I'm able to do all these things with time. Obviously, I have to wait till some technologies, right? But I'll get into those later. If I want to fabricate a claim on Genoa, I would build a spy network and then fabricate a claim, which means that I now have a reason to go to war with them. Right now, no reason. This will give me a bunch of bad modifiers and piss everyone off. But if I were to build a spy network, and say, hey, I am going to fabricate a claim on the land, they can't do shit about that, and now I can declare war on them with a reason, and people won't be as pissed off, right? And counter-espionage gets rid of your... If they're building a spy network on you, you can counter-espionage to reduce their spy network on you, right? Economy action is where you get to like steer trade and transfer trade power. You probably won't use this a lot. The most useful things in this are offage, like knowledge sharing, and sending gifts and selling provinces. On to the next thing is access actions. If you need to go into a country, for example, I'm fucking Castile to get to Morocco, because I'm at war with Morocco. I'll ask for military access, and then I can move my military through there. Favors are something you build up over time. You can do this by going to influence actions and currying favors, right? So if I curry favors, this will increase this. And then they'll owe me, let's say they owe me 10 favors. I can ask them to prepare for war, which means they'll join my war, right? Oh, dude. All right, the next thing is the economy tab. This shows you how much money you're making. It's pretty similar to understand. One thing to keep in mind is corruption. Corruption will grow if I don't do this. If I don't root it out, it will grow. And when corruption grows, it gives you a bunch of bad modifiers, and it's very expensive to take down. So if you get a lot of corruption, like for example from overextension, if you take a bunch of land and get overextension, it will increase your corruption. I'm not going over overextension right now, but it will increase your corruption by a ton. It will cost a lot of money to keep it down, and it will give you a lot of debuffs if you don't keep it down. Down here, you get to see the actual shit though. You can debase your currency, which gives you corruption. So for example, I need money right now. Unfortunately, I don't have any other way. I don't want to take out a loan. I don't want to do this. I'll just debase my currency. Boom, 2 corruption. Now you can see it's costing me $8 a month. That's The other thing that you want to look at is repaying the loans. So if you have loans, like for example, I take $109 out, I can repay it using like that. Or you can repay all loans like that. And this is declaring bankruptcy, and this is reducing inflation. If I have inflation, this is war taxes. It will get rid of it'll take -2 off this, which means I'll only be making 9. But it increases the money I have if I need to go to war and I need money, and I can click this. This is trade. This is complicated. I'm not going to explain it a ton, but it's worth talking about. Okay, so for trade, click here in economic map modes and go to trade. You'll see it. There's a bunch of different nodes. They're all different shit. The best one is this one, and these 2 are the other best ones. That's all you need to know. Venice, Genoa, and English Channel are all end nodes. That's what you want to have control of. Everything else just goes into that. It's if I go here and I click here, I can transfer trade power. This will make my merchant here, say in my trade power, which is 9%. My 9% will go to moving this into my node. That's the gist, right? Same here. It'll move it up. And if, for example, you're like, okay, you automatically collect in your main home node, right? But if, for example, you have trade power in Genoa and you have, like, let's say 40 trade power going to nothing, you can collect there by clicking on it, and then instead of saying to us, I'll collect in Genoa, this will turn your trade power into money. That's really complicated. A lot of numbers probably won't make sense. What you need to know, though, is if you collect trade, you'll collect money based off how much trade power you have there. If I have 61 here, I collect here, it'll stop it from going up here. Another thing to note is that these trade centers right here, boom, boom, all that shit, right? You see that little icon that says like 1, and you see that says estuary. That gives you more trade power. If you own those provinces, you'll have more power in this part of the trade. For example, I own every single thing in Valencia, so I have 61% trade power because I just own a bunch of land in it, right? Like I own a lot of land in this node, so I'm good. Even if you own all of it, though, that doesn't mean you'll keep all of it, and there's a bunch of shit why I'm not explaining it all. Technology is one of the main uses of diplomatic power and administrative and military power. Basically, when you get a certain amount, for example, if I get 609 military administrative power, I'll be able to take this, and this is how the game progresses, basically, right? This is how you get better army. This is how you get everything relating to army, right? Like, you get better shit by doing this. So it's insanely important that you keep up to date to it and don't fall behind. You can check how up to date you are on it by going down here and clicking on the technology map mode, which I don't think is down there by default. So you would click on probably economic, economic, and then click on technology. We're on par because the game just started, so everyone's on par, but it you'll see very soon that some people are ahead and some people aren't. So it's important that you keep on par, but don't overdo it, and don't go like 200 years ahead of time, because the more ahead of time you are, the more it will cost to upgrade. For example, right now it costs 609 to upgrade because it's currently like right on time, right? It costs 600 when it's right on time, but I'll probably buy it at 300 because I have to wait a few years to get that much power. This is institution. This matters. So for example, when the Renaissance happens, it'll spawn in 1450. This is required to get technology faster. Okay, it'll spawn probably in Italy, and all of these will spawn in different places, right? But wherever it spawns is where it starts, and it'll spread out from there. This is ideas. The other main usage for powers, for like the power shit. If you click on this, they give you a bunch of buffs. They work with each other to create policies. It's a big open system. Do what you think is best for your country. I can't speak on this. It's very situational, and it's the other main use for powers. This is missions. This is where the game goes, right? This is where you spend most of the time in the game. This is how you do it. Is basically your goals list, right? This is what you should aim to do. It gives you buffs. So for example, if I intervene in Castile, I'll get these buffs. If I do this, I'll get these buffs. And if I need to take land, for example, one of the options here is to take all this land. If I take all of the land that's highlighted by clicking on this question mark, it'll show me the land I need to take. If I take this, the mission gets complete. I get the buffs. I dip. Easy as pie. It's just a progression tree to keep you doing shit. This is policies. When you complete 2 idea groups, you'll get a policy, and you can add it here. This is decisions. You'll see an annoying notification at the top. If you don't want to see that, you'll find the decision that like you don't want to check off. Click that, and it will not give you the notification about it. This is stability and overextension. This is what I was talking about earlier. If this is high, it will give you a ton of unrest and a ton of corruption, okay? It's very important that's not like you don't take too much, because it can fuck your nation up. Shows how long it takes till the rebels get their demands. This shows how, overextension. This shows your states and territories. Territories are states you haven't stated. And territories are good because they don't take up government capacity, but they don't give you any benefits, but you can get trade benefits. And, sometimes you get too big and you just can't hold on to all those states. Stability is important because if it dips down, then you'll get a bunch of, you'll get like more unrest. You can see here how it works. If you highlight over it, that's how it works. War exhaustion, if you're in a war too long, you'll get a bunch of downside because your country doesn't want to be in war all the time. Disasters, don't do this checklist of things, because if you do this checklist of things, then you'll start a disaster in your country, and you'll either go through like a civil war, a peasants war, or a bunch of other different shit that will spawn here. Here's religion. You get to see your religion, your tolerance. No idea what this does. Defender of the faith, you can take and you get benefits, but at the same time, if for example, if you click on the religion mode down here, but you probably have to go to political and then click on religion. If you do that, you'll see that if, for example, Pskov here, right? Pskov was to declare on Livonian order. Pskov is Orthodox. They declare on this. I will have to defend Livonian order from the Orthodox people because I'm defending my faith. If you need to convert a thing, it'll be here. Fucking Orthodox Protestant Reformed province. I can click here and convert it, and it will convert using my missionaries, which are up here, right there. It'll convert using that. This is Cardinals. The Pope will give you Cardinals if he likes you, and that's about it for that. But the military tab is very, very important, and I'm going to go over this right now. Most of the time you upgrade your tech, you'll get a unit tech. At the top, it'll give you a notification. You'll see it. You'll click here, and you'll choose the new one. You can see what technologies you unlock it at. You have to choose to upgrade this. It won't automatically update, so you've got to choose it. Same with everything here, artillery and cavalry. That's how it works. Army tradition gives you a bunch of benefits. You get it from winning battles, and you get it from ideas and just like buildings and shit, right? It decays really quickly. It's good to have a lot of. So if you have 99 army tradition, then you should make a general, because if you make a general, it'll have better stats. This is morale of armies. This is good for like how quick a fight happens. If you have high morale and the other thing has like a 2 lower, so if you have like 8 morale and the next army has, the army you're fighting has 6 morale, you'll probably win. You get this from a bunch of different shit. Stats, events, all of it. It's very good, and you should try to keep this as high as you can. Same with discipline here. Discipline works the same way, except discipline is more about how long the fight lasts. You can read the exact definitions there. I haven't read them. I'm not even sure what I'm saying is true, but you can highlight over and read it. This is land force limit, how many you can build before it gets expensive. If I build 20 more things, I will go with a debt. I can't afford 20 more because it's over my force limit. That's how that works. This is all of this multiplied down here for navies and shit. It's just the same thing. And then durability. Combat width, for example, is 20, so only 20 armies can fight at a time. So if I build a 800 stack army, only 20,000 of them will be fighting at that time, right? You should base it around whatever the combat width is, right? Down here, you get to make a general. If you have 50 mil power, you can create one. It'll give you a general like the one here. These are pips. Just know the more they have, the better it is. And as long as it's not in movement, it's good that it has more, right? You want fire, shock, and siege. You want high pips in those. This is your conquistador. It's the same thing, but you're allowed to go through land you haven't explored before. It's useful for colonizing. This is an admiral. It's a general, but for the water. Here's what it looks like. Same thing, general for water. This is a quest for new world. This is an admiral, but this is a conquistador, but for the water. You explore new land in the water. It's for colonizing. You can make your ruler a leader. That's what this guy is. I can make my heir a leader. My heir sucks. I hope they die. I don't like them. And now they're a leader. To subjects, this is only important for a few nations at the start of the game, but maybe over time you'll get more subjects. There's benefit to using this though. For example, full annexing a country is where you, in a war, you take a peace deal, take it all. That will give you a lot of aggressive expansion. If you get too much aggressive expansion, then a country won't like you. Well, not countries won't like you. All countries won't like you. This is a coalition map mode. If I were to hypothetically declare war like that, right here. If I were to declare war like that, you can see now I have a coalition because I just did a stupid fucking thing that no one wanted. And now I'm fighting a lot of people. But regardless, I declared 2 wars. These guys don't like me. They're going to join a coalition. If they don't like me enough, they will. And when they join a coalition, that means they'll all band together and then declare war on you because you're too powerful and you're too aggressive, right? They don't want you being that powerful. Completely forgot where I was. Yeah, vassalizing. That's what vassalizing is useful for. If you win a war, you could do this. You get aggressive expansion in different ways. I'm just showing how it works. But if, for example, if I were to take brigands, I would get probably a lot of aggressive expansion. But if I vassalize them, I only get 9.3. You can get less aggressive expansion if you just vassalize your things. They get put in subjects. Obviously, they can become unloyal. I'll explain that in a second. This is their liberty desire. If you have enough of them and they have a bigger army, they'll all say, hey, we can beat this guy up. We don't need this guy to own us. Or if they just get a big enough army, or if someone supports independence or anything like that, they will probably not forgive you. This is their opinion of me. It's just the same as the diplomatic. I can improve relations to make them like me more, and it will affect the liberty desire the same way. This is their troops. This is who they are. This guy's a junior partner. This guy's a junior partner, which is different than a vassal. Estates are important. This is an estate. So, for example, you can call a diet. Click this button. It will summon the diet, and this is the diet. This is the diet. It's an agenda. It'll give you a quest to do. For example, this one's 6 production and development. So if you click here, you can click on the province that appears here, right? So you click that. Oh, that's the province. Click that. Boom. I have now completed my agenda. So if I unpause it for a day, boom, completed. I get the benefits of the agenda. You can call one again in 5 years. Same with seize land. You can seize land, works 5 years. Every estate loses 20 loyalty, but you get crown land. You can sell your land to get money. And that's how it works. You seize land, you'll get -20, but you'll get 5% crown land, which means if I seize land again, I'll get back to 30. But I can't right now because I have to wait. But also I can't right now because if I do, my estates will be disloyal. So that will spawn more rebels and give you unrest, right? You can check your loyalty here. This is the loyalty. Everyone's at 35. You can get higher this through events and doing diets. And then influence, if this hits 100, they'll try to do a coup. So don't let it hit 100 and be mindful of your estate's influence. So I'm going to hurry this up. Okay, at the top here, we're going to explain this, and then we're going to explain this, okay? At the top here is your treasury. This is how much money you have, how much money you make. Your monthly balance was, the part that says your monthly balance was, that minus 38.84, that's how much money I'm making. That's how much money I made last month, which is actually no money. I lost money. And that's how much money I have in the treasury, which is $203. If I were to debase my currency to get more money, boom, 312. You can see up here is manpower. So for every troop you build, you need to have men to build in it, right? For example, if I were to build 1,000 troops like this, right? I will build them. It will not only cost ducats up front and also cost ducats to like maintain them, but it will cost 1,000 manpower. And if I send this 11k in, they'll get their ass whooped by Burgundy, and if they don't get whooped too hard and some of them survive, it will cost, let's say for example I lose 4,000, it'll cost 4,000 manpower to reinforce that army. This is the same thing, the sailors are the same thing, but with navies. Stability, I've already explained this. If it dips below, I get a bunch of downsides, which means I now have a bunch of rebels, and this sucks. Corruption, same thing. Prestige you get from events, and it gives you morale of armies and a bunch of other buffs. Same with legitimacy, except not like it's different. It gives you diplomatic reputation and more like diplomatic buffs than just like army shit. And then power projection you get from humiliating a rival or beating someone into shit, and then you get a bunch of buffs from that too. That's that for this. Let's talk about building. If you go to a production interface, you can see here a lot of shit. We're gonna start from the top. Land units. This is what you use to build your troops. If you want to build infantry, you'll click here. You can shift click to build 5, control click to build 10. Maybe same thing. It's just different, and these work the same. Highlight over them, and then you can read what they do. Coring is the same. Coring is what you use to core. So for example, if I were to invade new land, this would be higher. So if I were to invade land and get land, I would have to core it. It's just the same menu up here as in a stability, and here it's the same menu once you click manage. Missionary, same thing with religion map mode, with the religion part, but it's a map mode. Local autonomy, same thing like in the province, except it's a map mode. I can sort by things and all that. Change culture, you click on a thing and you change the culture depending on what you want. It's pretty simple, honestly. Buildings, you get benefits from building them. There's something you do once, like a little later in the game, not like a little later, but like a tiny bit later. Down here is development. It's just a different map mode for clicking on the province. Same with states. It's a different map mode. Then it's just a map mode version of clicking on it and clicking that. It's just different. Same with diplomacy. It's everything in the diplomacy part of the country view, just in a map mode. So if I want to see who wants to royal marriage me, boom, now I can see who wants to royal marriage me. Exploit development. This is useful if you need money bad. I need money, so I will click on this and I'll exploit my development. This removes one development, which is bad, but I do get money for it, which is nice. So about it. Down here, you can see the Holy Roman Empire. This works in mysterious ways. Most people will play in here. The way it works, there's a emperor, whoever the emperor is. If I want to declare war on province, on like Milan, who's in the empire, Austria will join because they protect the empire. If I was Bohemia and wanted to declare on Regensburg, which is a free city, Austria will join because they're a free city and they have to protect the free cities. Electors can vote on who the emperor is. Just get yourself elected by befriending all the electorates. So if I were to improve relations with all of these guys, they would probably vote for me instead if I was in the empire. You can join it down here. You can add provinces to it. You can dismantle it if you get control of all of it. There's a bunch of shit, a bunch of benefits to being in it, but also it takes everything you do in here. Yeah, it would give you a lot more aggressive expansion than if you were to do that outside of the empire. That's it. That's the game. That took a long time to explain, but that's it. There's of course little neat tips and tricks that you can get into later that you'll get by playing the game. Down here, the ledger. Click on the ledger, and whoa, what the fuck? Look, it'll take you to this menu, and you can click military, and you can click army. Well, look, oh my god, I can click morale and see how good my army is compared to other armies. It's cool as shit, and there's a lot to learn. But that's the basics. That's all you need to play the game. Have fun. Yeah, that's it.